Welcome to the Through These Gates podcast, the most rational Nebraska football show on the internet. I am, as always, your host, Caleb Salvatore. Day by day, we get more and more impatient, but you know what? We're 3 days out. 2 days. It's 13 minutes to midnight while I'm recording this, so it's technically 2 days out, so we'll just roll with that. We're going over some over-unders for the season this year, but before we do that, I had 3 items I wanted to touch on, just observations I made over the last week and a half that I felt, were at least worthy of bringing up. Number 1, say what you want about Scott Frost and this team, but my God, am I glad we are not Steve Sarkisian in Texas. Oh my God. To come out and revoke Hudson Card as the starter after it was leaked to the public, after every media account in the country said he outperformed Quinn Ewers, to come out and cave to media pressure and social media like he did is, I'm sorry, try not to curse on this page, but that move is bullshit. Sorry, that's the reality here. Say what you want about Frost, but he hasn't done that. The closest Frost has ever come to doing anything like that is in the COVID year, and that's why we don't even count it. It was in the COVID year. Martinez was playing terribly. Everyone and their brother was screaming, put in Luke McCaffrey, put in Luke McCaffrey, put in Luke McCaffrey. And he did. And McCaffrey was a complete disaster. I don't think that's near as bad for a couple of reasons. Number one, that was the COVID year, and the year was already kind of a wash, right? Number 2, that wasn't oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me put the guy you want in. That was more of him saying, you think we got better? All right, here you go. And that was that. So I don't think that's as big of a deal. But my God, how can you go in and expect these young men to have any type of respect for you as a head coach when you caved like that? So you had a guy that has been around this program for a couple years. Everyone knows him. Everyone respects him. He's clearly outperformed the guy that everyone in the media wants to start all offseason. It gets leaked he's the starter, and then you go back on it because a couple loudmouths on Twitter are upset. Talk about having no faith in yourself as a coach. I can't imagine. That's the kind of thing that gets a coach fired. Like, I think I'm not a huge Texas football follower. I don't know too much about it, but my guess is Hudson Card, from everything it sounds like, probably would have gotten benched anyway if the season was going downhill. So you give the job to the guy who played the best in spring training. That's how you do it. That's how it goes. Did he play the best with the ones? Then he gets the start. Remember, that was the kiss of death for Bill Callahan, was awarding Sam Keller the starting job over Joe Gans. Joe Gans gets the start that year. It might be a different story. The Bo Pelini era in Nebraska may have never actually happened. But there are a lot of things Bill Callahan probably could have done differently. I have some interesting theories on that. Maybe we'll do an off-season episode on that after the year's over about how close Bill Callahan actually was to righting the ship when you look at the numbers and everything, but it is what it is. The second thing I saw, second little tidbit that I noticed, they released the season, the poster with the schedule on it. They released those. You go down to Husker Hounds or wherever, not a sponsor, by the way, be more than happy to have them. You go down to Husker Hounds or places like that, and they'll have the poster with all the players on it. No quarterbacks. Not Casey Thompson, not Logan Smothers, not Chubba Purdy. Just interesting. Probably doesn't mean anything. But it's weird. If Casey Thompson was really the slam dunk starter, you'd feel like they would have put him on there. It's the offseason. We ask these questions because we're bored. Is that because they don't have faith in him? Do they not want it to be egg on their face? When, fans are checking off the 7th loss of the year and they got to keep looking at his face and they've scribbled it out with the red Sharpie. Just a thought. Just something I noticed. Again, probably nothing. Hopefully nothing. But just something I noticed. And the last little thing I just thought on the season before we start getting into the pregame previews and everything. I was doing some thinking, man. This season, it's hard to not look at it as just a catch-22 for Frost. It's tough. You had to bring in all these assistant coaches because you couldn't get the job done with your guys being the micromanager who ran the show, right? So you bring these new big name marquee assistant coaches in, Mark Whipple, Mickey Joseph, guys like that, NFL guys like Raiola, right? You bring these guys in and you give them the reins and say, here you go. I'm done being a control freak. I'm managing CEO. I'm no longer the head coach that's in charge of everything. So if that works, that means that you aren't good enough to run the show yourself. And if it doesn't, you're fired. So obviously he's hoping it works, but it's a catch-22. If nothing, hopefully what it is growth for him as a coach and maybe a reality check that, hey, this isn't the American Football Conference anymore. I can't just come in here and run the show and just outrun teams because we're more athletic than them. Because we get Florida State, and Miami's outcast recruits. So, yeah. Those are my three little thoughts. Again, hopefully that last one, just a reality check for Frost. Drama, drama, drama. That's all it is. That's all it's ever been. As long as I can remember. Shit. Let's get into the over-unders. I got a couple of them here. And I think there's some interest. These aren't from any gambling sites or anything like that. I just kind of jotted them down as the day went on, and these are the ones I thought of, and I think they present some interesting scenarios. First one, Chubba Purdy game started at 0.5. I'm going to take the over here, and you guys can let me know in the comments if there's anything else I missed that you'd like to hear an over-under on, or if you have a different opinion, maybe I'm an idiot, whatever. I'm going to take the over on Chubba Purdy, half a game started. Half a game, I mean, zero. Vegas terms, you can't do zero. So I think just with the combination of Thompson being a relative unknown with very little experience in this system, and the fact that the guy's had a history of injury, I think law of averages says one of those things has to come into play at some point. And I don't think he's going to be benched for poor play. I want to make that clear. I don't think that'll be it. It's a possibility. It's always a possibility, but I don't think that'll be it. I think it's more likely it'll be injury. Guy's got an injury a history of injuries. And when's the last time Nebraska has seen a quarterback play all 12 games in a season? I really can't. Taylor Martinez never did. I really can't remember. All 12 games, start all 12 games in a season. Was it Joe Gans? Maybe Zach Lee. Did Zach Lee start all 12 games? I don't know. I need a young Jamie to pull these things up for me. But I'm going to take the over with Chubba Purdy, half a game started. Next one, O'Shawn Mathis, sacks, 8. I'm going to take the under. And I don't think that's a knock on Mathis. I think I'm going to take the under here because O'Shawn Mathis is the big name transfer portal guy. And I think because of that, at least early on in the season, he's going to eat a number of double teams, a number of chip blocks from tight ends and running backs. He is going to be the central point of focus for this defense. Now, would it be disappointing if O'Shawn finished the year with 5 or 6 sacks? Statistically, maybe, but I don't think that's doomsday scenario because you've got Caleb Tanner and Garrett Nelson also coming off the edge from different spots. You've also got 2 great linebackers in Henrik and Reimer. So I don't think that would necessarily be the worst thing in the world if O'Shawn Mathis finished with less than 8 sacks. I think there's a lot of factors that can go into that, especially like we already said in the defensive preview. I am hype about Nebraska's pass rush this year. If there's one position I am 100% drinking the Kool-Aid on, it's that pass rush. Between Tanner, Mathis, and Nelson, my God. Next one, that brings us to same number, same statistical category, Garrett Nelson with 8 sacks. That one I'm going to take the over. I think Nelson has a phenomenal year. I think he pushes himself to a fringe first-round draft pick status. I am so high. I am higher than Snoop Dogg on this guy this year. I think Garrett Nelson is going to be the guy on defense this year. Not an Adama Suh type player. It's a different type of player. But he is going to have a hell of a season. And I could really see him I could really see him playing on Sundays next year. Like that, he's that good of a player. And I'm expecting that, especially with Mathis eating up the double teams, especially even when we have a backup like Caleb Tanner that commands respect. If you can get either Butler or Gunnarsson to pan out as a halfway decent redshirt, that's a great pass rush. You've got 3 or 4 capable guys there that you can bring in. I think he gets 8 sacks because I think, like I said, Mathis is going to eat a lot of the double teams, and Nelson's going to be able to come in and clean up, at least for the first half of the season. Next one's interesting. Trey Palmer, over under 600 receiving yards. This could go either way. Like, the first 3 I'm pretty confident in. This one, I just don't know. Like, I feel Palmer's going to be the guy. I really think Mickey Joseph wouldn't have vouched for him to come over. He's a 5-star. If he wasn't going to be anything, he's a 5-star recruit, probably just buried by SEC-level talent at LSU. I think he's going to be the guy this year. But I also think they're going to spread the ball around. I think when you consider that you've got Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda, when you've got, hopefully, Alante Brown finally having that breakthrough campaign, when you've got Ramir Johnson out of the backfield, when you've got Travis Vokalek at tight end, maybe Fedoni? Who knows? I'm not going to count on it. But you got Marcus Washington, the Texas Connect from, with Casey Thompson, Omar Manning, even Oliver Martin. Can Brody Belt do something out of the slot? There's a lot of guys they can throw the ball to. I just feel like Palmer, I don't want to say he's going to get lost in the shuffle, but I just feel like he's not going to have a Toure type season because I feel there's more options to throw the ball to this year. Could be wrong. My heart says take the over here. I think Trey Palmer eclipses 600 yards this year. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than a lot of people would have thought. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing. If you think back to like the 03, 04 New England Patriot teams, Tom Brady was at his best when he didn't have the guy to throw it to. He had 4 or 5 guys to throw it to. There was no Randy Moss. Tom Brady did not win a Super Bowl with Randy Moss, right? It was when he had a bunch of different capable receivers that all did 1 or 2 things really well, he could throw the ball to. And that's why I like Nebraska's receiving core. I'm a little bit higher than maybe I was a couple weeks ago when I did the offensive preview, the more that I've looked into it. We've got a lot of guys that can all do 1 or 2 things really, really well, and I think that's going to bode well for them. So I'm going to go, again, over on 600 receiving yards for Trey Palmer. Now, that brings us to the next one, a position I was already high on, which is running back. 0.5 over-under for 1,000-yard rushers on the team. This one I'm going to take the under. I don't think we have a 1,000-yard rusher, and again, don't think that's a bad thing. I think we have a stable of running backs with Johnson, with Grant, with Yant, with Gabe Irvin. Coming off that ACL injury. Thank you to the commenter that corrected me, by the way. I appreciate it. Sometimes I just talk out my ass, and, I'm not an asshole when people correct me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll own that. Yes, I was incorrect when I said he dealt with injuries last year. No, he dealt with an ACL. He dealt with a big injury, not a bunch of little, ankle sprains. So I think it's pretty reasonable to say, given the amount of talent in this backfield and the fact that running backs seem to always get hurt once or twice a year, I don't think we see a 1,000-yard rusher, and I don't think it's bad. I think you see, again, 3 or 4 guys that are very capable and put up solid numbers. And that gives us a lot to look forward to going into next year, but I don't think you have the guy. You don't have Melvin Gordon at Wisconsin, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Gives you fresh legs, keeps guys healthy. I don't think it's the end of the world if you don't have the guy, the feature back. Which brings us to the next one I kind of answered in the last video. Total wins, 7.5. I'm going to go with the over here. I'm just going to make it clear. I think we're a 9-win team this year. Now, I could see us being a 5-win team, and I could see us being a 10-win team. I could see us being an 11-win team. But I think 9's a safe number, and I think we cover 7.5. If we don't cover 7.5, it could get a little dicey for Scott Frost, depending on who those losses and wins are to. You're going to start adding them up. It's like, did he beat Oklahoma? Sure, but he lost to Illinois, and that's where it kind of just becomes a who did you beat kind of RPI college basketball situation. So stay tuned on that one, but I think we cover over for 7.5. Travis Vokalek, Receiving touchdowns at 5.5. I'm going to go under. I think he gets a solid 5. I think he's going to be the red zone threat guy this year. I think he gets a solid 5. I think they have a lot of threats they can go to. I think Omar Manning is going to be a solid threat in the red zone. I think they got a couple tight ends they like to throw to. Look out for Chancellor Brewington this year in the red zone. Athletic guy that can just blow people up off the block. They got Jaquez Yant they can hand the ball off to when they get down in the goal line. I think there's a lot of options there that they didn't have a year ago. And Vokolek's going to have a good year, but I don't think he goes off and, has a Rob Gronkowski type year or Travis Kelce where they're looking at drafting him in the first or second round. After that, Omar Manning, receptions at 20. Over under. This is an interesting one. This is a guy who has all the potential in the world, all the hype coming out of junior college. It's just a matter of, can he stay on the field? And for whatever reason, whether it be injuries, whether it be, I've heard everything from grades, attitude, I don't know if any of that's true, but he cannot stay on the field. And when he does, he seems to slip down the depth chart. I'm going to go under on 20 receptions for Manning, honestly. I think he kind of phases out. I hope he proves me wrong because he's got all the potential in the world. He's got the build to be that physical guy. I think they use him in certain packages in the red zone. I think they go to him a couple times. I think his touchdown to reception ratio might actually be a little jaded compared to, the numbers he actually puts up. But I don't think he's going to have this monster season that we were all hoping for, when he came out of JUCO and was that top JUCO receiver in the country. Which goes on to the next one. Casey Thompson, passing yards, over under 2,500. I'm going to go over. I think that he needs to be over. For perspective, 2,500 yards would put him right above Sam Keller at number 10 in the all-time passing record for the school. Sam Keller's a low bar, guys. Low bar. Disappointing transfer quarterback who didn't play all 12 games. Low bar. I think if Casey Thompson doesn't hit 2,500 yards, he either got seriously hurt and was out for an extended period of time, or he was a disappointment. He got benched, poor play, whatever. Because especially in Mark Whipple's offense, the dude should eclipse 3,000. Sorry. I think he should eclipse 3,000 pretty easily. I'm going to go 2,500 easily over there if he doesn't. Start packing your bags, Scotty. Thompson rushing yards, 500. I'm going to go under. I don't think Whipple's going to ask the quarterback to run this much. They don't want him in a Martinez role. Like I said earlier, we've had problems with fragile quarterbacks in the past. I don't think they just want to just keep running him like they did Martinez. I think the lesson's been learned. A coach like Whipple's not going to let that go down to the extent that Frost and co. were doing it with Adrian Martinez. So under for 500 rushing yards. Casey Thompson passing touchdowns, 20.5. I think he eclipses the over there again. I think like I said, I think he throws for 3,000 yards. Should be no problem throwing more than 20 touchdowns. I think he throws that easily. I think you're looking at about 24, 25, just with the nature of this offense they're going to run. And then rushing touchdowns for Thompson, 4.5. That's a tough one. I could see it going. This is one of them that's a flip a coin, man. I could see him getting 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns, especially down in the goal line. He's not going to electrify anybody, but they may mix some zone reads in, when teams aren't expecting it inside the 5-yard line. I could see that. I could see him scratch. My heart tells me under. My heart tells me under again. Just because, you got big backs that you can use on the goal line. They're hopefully going to use a little bit bigger sets down there under Mark Whipple. You got tight ends like Vokolek and Fedoni, big receivers like Washington and Manning that are capable of going up and getting that ball inside the red zone. I just don't see it. And Thompson doesn't have that blazing speed like Martinez did. I don't see him booking it for 70 yards and running for a touchdown. I just don't see it. So I'm going to go under for 4.5 touchdowns. 2.5. Game started for Jaquez Yant. That one, I'm going to go over. I think he starts at least 3 or 4. I think Jaquez Yant starts at least 3 or 4 games. I think some of them due to injuries, some of them due to situational football, some of them due to, his play in the previous game. And I don't really think it matters at running back when you're probably going to do it by a committee approach like Nebraska is this year. So I really don't think I'm not too worried about the running back situation. I'm not really too worried about who starts. but I know that's something that a lot of the stat geeks like to keep track of. So I think Yant's going to start more than 2 games this year. I could see that. I think you're going to get up against, especially against some of the smaller teams. Guy went off against Northwestern. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start this Saturday. Next one, Timmy Bleekrode, longest field goal, 49.5. Does Timmy Bleekrode tie his record or break it with 50 or more? I think he does. I'm an optimist about the special teams this year. You got competent coaching. You got great special teams players you brought in through transfer. I think the special teams is going to be better this year. I think Timmy Bleekrode bangs a couple of them through. Not just one. I think he hits 1 or 2 or 3 from 50 yards or more. Let's do it. Let's bring back Kicker U with Alex Henry and Brett Maher and all those guys. It's time. It's time, you guys. Last one. Games lost by special teams errors. 1.5. That's the kicker. 1.5 games lost. If we're at a point where we're losing more than 1 game by special teams error, that's going to be the difference between us making a bowl game or not, and Frost ultimately keeping his job or not. I'm going to say under. I think we lose maybe 1 game due to an error on special teams, directly due to, like you're talking, Michigan State, Iowa games, Oklahoma games, directly due to special teams errors. I think it's under 1.5. I think Bush gets it together. I think you have a much more competent, professional kicking and punting unit. I don't think we're going to see any punts go for less than 4 yards this year. So I think that the kicking unit gets it together. The special teams unit as a whole gets it together, and they cost us 1 or less games. I think it's going to be sound like special teams should be. You don't hear a lot of names and a lot of finger pointing and a lot of blame. That's the best special teams you can have, is a quiet one. Unless Devin Hester's running back touchdowns for you like the old Bears teams were, but nonetheless. So yeah, that's going to do it. Those are my over-unders. Was I wrong? Was I right? Did I miss any that you wanted to hear about? Let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll do a little impromptu video before the game. Drop it before the preview, or I'll do it on the preview for the Northwestern game on Friday. Make sure you stay tuned. And then Sunday, I'm going to try and go live for the post-game reaction. We'll see. Again, moving. It's been chaos. I'm trying to set up a studio here in my house. I'm joining the Outlaw Streamers Network for a separate show. Stay tuned on that. So I'm just everything's in pieces right now. Gonna try and get video going, even if it's just from my desk. That'll be better than nothing. We're gonna try and do a live stream. If not, we'll get a reaction either way. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the little bell for the notifications there. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of that other stuff, subscribe, give us 5 stars. You know the drill. Leave a nice little review if you would. I wouldn't mind it. Make sure you subscribe to all my socials at Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook page coming soon. I promise. My life's just been chaos these last couple weeks. Just some other stuff going on, but I will get that Facebook page set up so y'all can follow us on there. Like I said, Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram. Caleb Salvatore Comedy on TikTok. Follow the Outlaw Streamers Network so you can go check out my new show coming up there. I got another podcast called Bread and Circuses. It's a pretty laid-back comedy podcast. I'll link you there. And, if you're in the Omaha, like I say, I'm a comedian. If you're in the Omaha area this Thursday, October 25th, today, the day it's being released, I guess. I wanted to have this out Wednesday, but I'm recording. It's 12:14 now. This Thursday, I will be at the Brick Street Tavern in Millard, in Omaha, at 10 o'clock. It's a free show. We're doing a little comedy, a little pre-Nebraska football season show. Just getting ready to go. I will warn you, I do get a little vulgar. Try not to curse on here, but it does get a little vulgar. So if darker, a little bit more profane comedy isn't your style, maybe you shouldn't come out. But you can come check that out for free. And then I will be running the roast battles, verbal assault, first annual roast battles at a beach house in Omaha as well the next day, Friday, August 26th. That'll be $10 at the door. It's the first time we've ever run roast battles there. So I know a lot of people here are local, that are listening. So if you want something to do Friday, you want to go have a little fun and let loose Thursday or Friday, get ready for the big game on Saturday, you know where to come find me. Come up and say hi. I'm real chill. I'm not a dick to anybody unless you give me a reason to. But it'll be lots of fun. So make sure you come check us out there. I'm not actually roasting. I'm just running the show. It'll be fun. It's a lot of comedians that work really hard at what they do, and I told them just take the gloves off and go after each other. Just be mean. But it's all in good spirits. It's just jokes. So yeah, go check that out. You can get tickets on eTix for that right now, or it's $10 cash at the door. So yeah, go check us out. Beach House this Friday at 9 p.m. for the Verbal Assault Comedy Roast Battles, and then tomorrow, this morning, I guess, today, August 25th, Thursday, you can see me down at Brick Street Tavern at 10 for free. Well, a free show for you. I think I'm getting paid, and they're giving me a free tab. I can drink as much as I want, so come out, have a beer with me. We'll talk some Husker football. We'll talk some comedy, whatever you want to talk about. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Until next time, I will see you Friday for the pregame show, the pregame preview for Northwestern. It's about to be lit, y'all. Thank you so much. Have a good night.